Check, check. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another Tech Notice live stream. I've got something exciting for you today. Ooh, I better put this in as well because you got to see this as well. Okay, let me just double check. Yep, okay, that's working. So, if you are watching this live, if you're watching and joining us right now for this awesome little test, let me know where you're watching from. I can see Bugatti 7510 watching from Pennsylvania. That must be morning in the US right now. We can see 2K video creations. We can see Subhas. We can see Greece. We can see UK. Nice. So a little bit of Europe. A little bit of US morning. Europe starts to get the afternoon and night. South Africa. Wow. What time is it in South Africa right now? That must be, let me think. South Africa that way, so it's going to be like evening in South Africa right now, isn't it? But we've got something interesting for you. Let me think, would that work as well? Okay, I'll just do it all on one camera here. We're going to be testing this M3 MacBook Air that I've got here. I've got it linked in the description below if you want to check it out as well. But the way I'm testing it is slightly different. And by the way, this is my DIY modified M3 MacBook Air. Now, I've got a video coming out about that, but I've fixed the thermal issues with this one. Let's just say that it's absolutely fantastic. It just looks completely stock. There's nothing that looks different, but believe me, it is not stock MacBook Air M3. It is tuned, modified the Tech Notice way, and the best way I can think of it. It is coming soon. Okay, it's saying a higher recommended bitrate. Let me lower the bitrate. Seems like I'm sending too much data your way. Let's see. Apply 7,000. Let me see if the hardware, yes, AV1. I'm streaming AV1, by the way, just so you know. That's interesting as well. So 4 o'clock in South Africa. Oh, it's not that different actually then from the UK, even though it's miles away, but it's there. So I've got the M3 MacBook Air here, and I've got it. Let me show you here. So where am I? I'm plugged into there. Let's keep myself on the top there. Okay, so we've got Premiere Pro open. We're going to test DaVinci Resolve in a minute as well. But here we can see some temperatures of the CPU, GPU, and things like that going on, as well as our power draw and clock speeds and temperatures and so on. But I'm going to keep both of them open. So on the side, just so you know what's going on, we can see how the hardware reacts and how heavy this is and so on. We've got Premiere Pro open here, where we've got our drop frame indicator. So if that goes yellow, we're dropping some frames. If it's green, we're not dropping any frames. Full resolution playback means that whatever this is on the timeline, we're playing it back as well. So in a minute in DaVinci Resolve, you'll see it's a little different. So DaVinci Resolve, you're going to set the kind of playback resolution and timeline, which will be set at like 4K, but all the clips on the timeline will be conformed to that playback what you'll be set. Whereas on Premiere Pro, we've got everything, every single timeline is native to the clips. So if we've got 30 frames, it's going to play back 30 frames. If it's 60 frames, if we're pressing play, it's going to play back at 60 frames per second. No external GPU on this PC. Nope, it is just all internal. So this model, what I have here, has 16 gigs of RAM. We've got, let me see if I can see it in here. Okay, on the top here you can also see some of the RAM usage and things like that. So top right, if we go in, so right now battery, unfortunately, I can try it on battery as well. It doesn't really matter, but it's exactly the same with the battery or charge. I just forgot to charge it, so I've left the charger on right now in here. But next to the battery, we see CPU percentage, so how much is the CPU used when playing this back. Then we can see RAM pressure, So how much pressure is it going to be putting on the RAM? The way iOS works is a little different, or a little bit kind of a interesting way. So the 16 gigs of VRAM. Well, it can be VRAM. It can be just RAM. It's URAM. It's you know, unified memory. Bugatti, thanks for you know, checking me on this. It's actually unified memory, so it's upgraded, and then the SSD is upgraded as well. So there's like 2 upgrades. If you haven't seen my dedicated video on the channel on like why I bought this and why I'm testing, there's a few other videos coming out about this, especially if you want to see me DIY this. It's gonna be very interesting. But the pressure, if you don't know how this works, is how much pressure is it going to be putting in there. If it puts loads of pressure on the RAM, it's going to start to cache the other bits on the RAM onto the SSD. So that's why we're writing lots of stuff on the SSD as well. So I believe if we go monitor, activity monitor. Okay, so there we go. Here we can see how much physical memory we've got, 16 gigs. And then you can see memory used, we've got 9.8 gigs used, and then cached is 3. And swap use, look at that, we're using 5 gigs of swap right now onto the SSD. So it's constantly swapping stuff from the SSD, which means we're writing stuff onto our SSD like no tomorrow, which is just killing our SSD. But that's why I have got all of this project, as much of everything, actually on this external SSD, what we have over here. So I recently bought this. This literally arrived like yesterday. I literally just set this up. It's Ugreen. Oh, I forgot to put this in the description below for you as well. Give me 1 minute. I'll put this in there as well. But we've got Ugreen USB 4 M.2 NVMe enclosure. And this is up to 40 gigabits per second, which is a bit of a marketing lie. It's not actually 40 gigabits per second data transfer speeds. It's, well, it kind of is, but you can't transfer files at 40 gigabits per second. You're not going to see that. There's a limit of that, but we'll go into that in a new in another video. But inside there, I've put the Samsung 990 Pro, what I have here, 1 terabyte version of this. Why 990 Pro instead of 980 Pro? I've got 980 here as well. If you want to save a little bit of money, the 980 is good as well. Both of them have DRAM, but the 990 Pro has better random read and write speeds. So whenever we're running programs or anything in there, it's better random read and write speeds, which I like. So I just wanted to give the best option for this drive on for this performance test. So I'm not like bottlenecked by the drive speeds or anything like that. So the version what I have here externally is as fast, if not faster, than internal setup. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, and there's lots of options out there, I'm gonna leave, you can see these Samsung drives in the description below, as well as the video where I'm explaining how to get all the storage and how you can get external storage as fast as internal. Let me show you if you don't believe. So we're gonna open Blackmagic Disk Speed Test and selecting the target drive. Right now we're going to put the target drive onto the desktop, which means that this is the internal drive. How fast is, oh, so you can't see, there we go. I'll show you that we've done this again. Target drive, desktop, press open. So now we're going to test how fast is it on the desktop, like the drive internally. About 3.3 write and 2.9 read. Now write speed is a little bit lower, looks like maybe there's caching issues or whatever. Read 2.9, write almost 3 as well. Can you see that? About that. Okay, we're gonna stop that, and now we're gonna select target drive, which, as you can see on the side, if we open this, can we make this a little bit bigger? Here. This is my external Samsung 990 Pro, and I have set the file system on this up as APFS, which is like the Mac format. So you can't use this on Windows, but this has more like a journaled way of using the data, which means that the only difference between like exFACT and this is that this, if you have any power loss or any kind of a surge, it's more likely that you can recover data with the APFS format compared to the exFAT. But if you go between two systems like Windows and macOS, then exFAT is better. But I've got that set up over there. So we'll get the Samsung drive now, open it. So now this external drive, okay, press go. 2.5 and read 3.1. I got the write speed much faster previous. Oh, there we go. So 3.1 gigabytes write and 3.1 again. So as you can see, we are faster in the write speed onto the external drive than on the internal, and even the read. So this is insane kind of a system. And the best bit is it is cheaper to buy this than actually upgrading the internal SSD, which is ridiculous. You get it half price and double the capacity this way. So I'll leave it in the description below with this Samsung way of doing it, which it's very, very good. I'll put this up here as well so we can see what's going on, but they're not on the way. So, oh, it's got a little fan in here as well to keep the SSD cool, but I can only hear it when I put my ear to it like that. Okay, let's close this one. What are you guys saying? Do you know why most Apple products don't have a bigger capacity of RAM like iPhones? I know you can upgrade it on MacBooks, but is it enough RAM for the big stuff? So Bugatti 7510, thanks for tagging me, by the way. If you have any questions, just tag me in there at Tech Notice, so I can actually see it a little bit better. You know, glancing over, I can see someone talking to me. The reason for this is because Apple can make more money this way. Okay, it's easy to not solder more onto it, and they can make a lot more money that way. That's like number one reason for sure. And the other reason is, you know, you can get away with a little less, but let's take a look what we've got going on over here, and then we can check. So if you're just joining us, one more time, quickly explain what you can see over here. Premiere Pro video editing test, everything's played back at native, there's no proxies. On the right here, you can see power draw, package power draw on the right, and how little power this uses is insane. And we're going to see how good the M3 is. I haven't actually tested all of these codecs myself, so it's going to be a little bit of a surprise and like a live reaction from me as well. We can see the frequency of everything, the temperatures, and the utilization. In this room there is 25.4 degrees right now. I'll leave this into there so you can see that. And okay, everything seems to be well. So let's start. Firstly, we've got a little bit of a color grade on there as well. So this is 8-bit 420 60 frames per second. Pressing play. Well, it is dropping a little bit of frames. As you can see, it doesn't like that. The package power draw is going up and up. And then the M3, what is this? GPU? Yep, the GPU is 100%, and the GPU is the bottleneck on this. Okay, so if you're doing a little bit of color grading, full resolution 4K, it's slightly struggling with this. Now, bear in mind, I'm using external monitor as well. So, and that would be interesting to check out actually. Let me just unplug this for you for a second. And I'll just double check if I'm pressing play. No, it's exactly the same as externally. So the actual video playback engine doesn't make any difference whether I'm using external this or not. Okay, there we go. MacBook's getting a little warm, yes. But I fixed the thermals on this. It's not as bad as it should be. It should be a lot worse. Obviously, I've got this test mat that kind of acts like a little bit of a, you know, a thermal pad, or maybe on the desk it might be a little bit cooler because the desk is a little bit cooler. But hey, some people have this, so we'll test it like that. So let me just try timeline scoring at full. It's pretty good. Pressing play now without the color grade. Look at that. Now it's no problem. That little bit of color grade really bottlenecked the GPU, and it just couldn't do anything, which is kind of surprising actually. But to play this back at 5.4 watt power draw is kind of ridiculous how little power it uses. Full resolution, I mean, you can edit this as soon as you don't put color grade on. When you put color grade on, you have to drop this at half the resolution, and then when we press play, then yeah, can you see now it's using a lot more power, 77%, but still keeping the package power around 4.5 watts, which is interesting. Okay, let's move on to a little bit of a harder codecs. We'll try without the color grade first. So this is 10-bit 420 24 frames per second. Seems very, very solid. Pressing play, very instant as well. Yes, we're gonna be testing the rendering too, of how well does it do. Yeah, I mean, 10-bit 420, no issues at all. Plays back, no problem. Like scrubbing here, absolutely fine. So this is a 10-bit 422 30 frames per second H.264. Smooth as well, very, very good. As smooth as it can get. Pressing play, plays back full resolution, no problem. See, the problem is putting back color grade. It actually, look, it does play it back now with 30 frames per second. Didn't like the frame rate. The 60 frames was the one that actually made it an issue. Now with the color grade, scrubbing and everything, it's absolutely fine. Ooh, we peaked at 10 watts. Woohoo, new record. 10 watts, that's ridiculous. Do you know how much Intel and AMD use? Like 10 times as much. But seems to be playing it back quite okay. 0 frames dropped. I know, Michael V is saying about Snapdragon X Elite. Yeah, some of the guys just reached out. I mean, they just published some new stuff about that recently, today I think, or yesterday they published, which is quite interesting. So this is 25 frames per second. 10-bit 422, which usually comes from my Sony a7S III, and I'm using this a lot. Yeah, looks like it is dropping a few frames. It kind of goes okay and then it just starts dropping frames, but it kind of makes sense because, I mean, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't change any of the like wattage being pulled, so it can push a little further. This is now SI, the second clip here. Oh, and that's so much smoother. So this is all intra. It's so much easier to play back than the long GOP. Does long GOP, all intra, RAW and all these codecs, does that make sense to you guys? Or is this like all alien in what I'm talking about to you? Moving on to 60 frames per second, 422 10-bit. Is this H.265 still? Uh-oh. What did I do? Did I minimize it? Yeah. Is it Control-Shift-H? Yes, there we go. It doesn't tell me what is the there we go, clip H.264. yeah, okay. So 60 frames per second, slightly laggy now with the 60 frames per second. 30 frames was a lot smoother. When I'm pressing play, it does play it back. Obviously for you it's going to be scaled down to 30 frames per second. My screen actually shows me 60 frames here as well, but a little bit of a drop framed. DaVinci Resolve always works better than Premiere Pro. I beg to differ. Have a look at my last stream where we actually showed what did we do with the last stream? I did something. What did I use? I'll have to double check now myself. We used, oh yeah, the Dream PC, and in there you could see that Premiere Pro was actually better in times than DaVinci Resolve. So it depends on the codec and what you're doing, but sometimes Premiere Pro was better. 160. Well, it's okay doing this with the color grade now. 60 frames per second. Oh, it does not enjoy that. It's very light color grade. There's nothing like too much on it, a little bit of a LUT, 2 LUTs I think, or something like that. But look at that. It is not enjoying this at all. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, 6 is, okay, this is H.265 now. A little bit of different codec, so sometimes hard for some hardware, but this works usually quite well because this is accelerated on the GPU or any of the media engines, whether AMD or Intel or whatever. So 10-bit 420 H.265, 4K, 50 frames per second, very smooth, with color grade as well, pressing play. Oh, you see, it doesn't like the high frame rates. High frame rates really just starts dropping frames like no tomorrow. Let me take the color grade off, let's see now. Okay, without the color grade, it's okay, but with color grade, it's insane. So I guess when you're editing, try without color grade first, and then when you're color grading, drop the resolution a little bit. Let's see if we can drop it to half the resolution. And now playing back. See, with half the resolution, it doesn't drop any frames. It's all right. So maybe that's what you'd do. Yeah, this seems fine. So let me just click some of these off, all these timelines. Next off, okay, this is going to be interesting. This is H.265, 10-bit, 422, 60 frames per second. Comes from Canon R5, this particular clip, but you can make any camera, well, not all cameras, but a lot of the mirrorless cameras can do this as well. So let's, firstly, I want to see full resolution scrolling, incredibly smooth, because Apple has dedicated hardware for this. And as you can see, when I'm scrolling, the package power draw instantly very high. Like right now, like package power draw less than 1 watt. When I start scrubbing, it goes to like 14, between 10 to 15 watts. Which I know for Mac it sounds ridiculous, but for PC it's absolutely nothing. So I'm going to press play, full resolution. Oh, see, it kind of doesn't like the frame rate. That's interesting. When I'm scrubbing through, it's much smoother, but when I'm pressing play with the color grade, it just does not like playing it back. Let me try without the color grade. Okay, without the color grade, it plays, oh, still drops 1 frame, so that was a mistake. Looks smooth to me right now. People at work keep interrupting me while watching the video. I'm gonna have to watch it later. No problem, CS man. Don't get fired because you're watching TechNotice live stream. Okay, I mean, looks okay, but color grade, that just shows that the like Apple GPU still isn't fully utilized or optimized. It's like okay for a lot of the things, like in benchmarks it looks good, but like in video editing, like any 3050 can play this back no problem. And 3050 is like ridiculous. You can get $100, $150 ARC card. Pardon me. Have a look at my recent video where we checked the ARC cards on the channel. It's ridiculous how good of a performance something like the ARC A580 can have, like $170. It's ridiculous. But here, the GPU really doesn't, like I can't play this back. Look at that, full resolution, just does not like doing it. But interestingly, it's not using all the hardware either, because right now package power draw is like 5-6 watts or something like that. I know it can go higher, but when we're scrubbing through, it's a lot smoother. So it seems like some kind of a software issue where like scrubbing through is completely fine and it uses a lot more wattage then. Look, 8, 9, like many times more, but when pressing play, it's kind of just going like into a slideshow, which is ridiculous. Clip 7. No, Clip 7, it should have handled it quite well on the last stream because it did have Intel QuickSync, which means that it would have played it back no problem. So this is number 8 now, which means Canon C200. So Canon RAW, DCIe 4K as well. So let's press play here. I want to see what happens. Full resolution. Okay, yeah. No. M3 can't quite do it. Look at this. E-core utilization 100, P-core 100, GPU kind of a little bit. So it looks like this is going to go to CPU as well. This is not GPU accelerated codec. Can't play this one back. Now if I had ProRes, it would be completely fine. I wonder if we can render ProRes proxies for it. Well, it will do lower resolution, so maybe not. Scrubbing is kind of okay, so if you're using that, maybe go for quarter resolution, or then it's very, very smooth, and pressing play, no problem. Then our P cores and E cores are fully utilized, but it's smooth. Full resolution, can't play this one back. Now at this point I'm wondering, should we even go any further? This is a red 4K RAW. This should be quite easy. I'm going to take the color grade off first and see how well does it do. Okay, scrubbing, very easy. No problem. When you go over the clip to the second one, it's fine doing one clip at the time and then clicking on the other one and then one clip at the time. As soon as you like kind of hover over between two clips here, like this bit, then it starts to go choppy. See, like second clip now is choppy, going on to the first one smooth, second clip choppy. But if I hold it onto the second clip and scrub around, it's very, very smooth, and then move on to the first clip, it's a little bit, well, it's better. But now it's choppy the second clip, which is interesting. Let's try, okay, let's try playing it back. Scrubbing was one thing. Playing back. Look at that, GPU is utilized here, so it's a GPU clip, but the GPU is only pulling 1.2 watts. Impressive. But still, dropping a lot of frames for like red 4K RAW that should be played back easy. With the color grades, oh my words, it's a full-on slideshow. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. 120 frames per second. How's the RAM? You can see the RAM up here. It's 41% used. Wait a second. Let's get the activity monitor here as well. Right now we're using about 11 gigs and 3 gigs swap is being used. Hello, some more cheeks there from UK. Sergey, hi. How long do I render with Mac? In a minute we're going to see. Almost to the end. A few more and then we'll find out. So 120 frames per second. Kind of scrubbing is, you know, not too good. Playing back, proper slideshow. I mean, proper slideshow. Whether it's H.264 and 5, 422, it's a big slideshow. So this is 422 10-bit, 120 frames per second. Look, GPU 100% utilized. We can see the E cores is kind of going there as well. It goes all over. The P cores 100% utilized. It doesn't know quite what to do. This is H.265 10-bit. Again, big slideshow. Can't play it back. Let's take the color grade off. Ooh. Now that is interesting. Take the color grade off. And it's quite smooth actually. Play. It takes a bit of time, but then does play it back. It's doable. I'd probably recommend like dropping the resolution to quarter, and then scrubbing is okay. Pressing play, it's still okay, but okay. So red 5K RAW is not going to do it. So there's no point in trying this because you're not going to edit red 5K RAW. It's very choppy scrubbing through. You can probably cut some of it, but you're not going to be able to see like playback fully. Let's try quarter of a resolution. Well, see, drop it down to quarter and you'll be all right. Yeah. 6K red raw. Oh, I don't think this is going to be good. Pressing play, it's insane. Slideshow, it's not even worth trying. Quarter resolution. Look at that. It kind of looks okay. It drops a few frames, but it is okay. Like quarter resolution, 6K red raw. Okay, scrolling now is fine at 6K red raw. It is quite GPU accelerated there, what you can see. These are different. I think this is Komodo, so it's slightly different red raw compression. So quarter resolution, you can actually do red raw as well. You just might have to drop it down. But like on a thin and light MacBook Air with no fan, and it's quite impressive, to be honest. This has 16 gigs of RAM, Professor H. See? 16 gigs of RAM. Oh my word, look at that. Swap used. 8 gigs now. Oh. Right now I'm killing my SSD. So, there's a little tip for you if you want to buy these Macs, get as much RAM as you can, because then you kill less of your SSD when video editing. This is 6K B-RAW. Oh, it does not like that. Usually this is very easy codec. But let's try half the resolution. So there's a few 6K red RAWs on top of each, B-RAWs on top of each other. Yeah, it doesn't like that. No. Well, half the resolution, it's kind of okay. You can still edit it, but it's not like a smooth experience. Only in quarter resolution you can do it. Yeah, quarter resolution is kind of okay. I'm just so impressed how much the GPU pulls power. It's ridiculous. Like 0.5 watts. How can you make something like that? Okay, Canon R5 8K. Oh my word, this is going to be bad for it. Let's try quarter resolution. Press play. Okay, not bad. CPU fully utilized in there, as you can see. RAM used goes all the way up. 4.5 gigs in the swap, which is pretty crazy. Okay, do you know what? Let me try one more thing. If we go to the settings and memory. Oh, it is already on the lowest. 13 gigs is max that it can use, but Premiere Pro would probably use more if it can. I mean, at quarter resolution, this is not red. Canon R5 8K is possible to edit. See? Mumbai, India. Hello, India. Okay, why are we using the microphone? I have no idea. So let's go back. So this is 8K red raw. Let's take the color grade off and let's put it at quarter resolution. I don't think this is going to do it at all. But hey, someone on YouTube's going to test it. It takes like a little time, but then kind of gives you a slideshow option. Look at that. The RAM memory pressure is all into the red. Using 14 gigs and 6.5 is in the RAM. Not good, as some might say. Okay, so I wouldn't edit Red 8K with this MacBook Air. It's really not meant for that. I mean, the temperature is actually quite good. Look at that. We're like within like 80 degrees, something like that. Core max 80. Average is about 64 because I fixed the thermals. That's why. Okay, 12K B-raw with color grade. Kind of works. Yeah, doesn't like playing it back. Not at all. With the color grade. Let's take the color grade off. Oh, come on. It doesn't like it at all. Okay, is Adobe gonna crash now? Yeah, it does not enjoy that. Let's close this as well. Look at the RAM. Okay, it's swapping it back and forth onto the RAM there. Now, this is all of the clips that we just tested twice. So you've got 10 minutes and then 20 minutes. And then one of these has the color grade on, the other bit doesn't. Let's try exporting this. On the previous tests, we exported it in 4K. This time we're gonna go and export it at 1080p because this probably won't be able to handle it. Okay, we're gonna go and put it on the same volume. I'm gonna export it into there. Export test 1080p. Save. Okay, send to media encoder and go. Come on. Yes, come on. Is anyone in the comments actually using any Apple devices right now, or are you all Windows users? That's what I'm curious to hear. 25.7 in the room now. Yes, we allow you to access the files. Rahul, Professor H, anyone using Mac? Bugatti 7510 uses Windows. Is that Windows solely, or is there anything else? Anybody else, Windows or other devices? Okay, let me just save and exit this. And then I want to press play on this render. So we can check what's going on and how is it doing that. Right now, it looks like it's 1 hour and 10 minutes. I hope this is not true. Look at that, GPU is 100% utilized. So it tries to use as much GPU as possible. It's the afternoon. Mac desktop for work. Okay, Superchair Destroyer, which Mac is it? Is it Mac Mini, Mac Studio, or the Mac Pro? Windows at home. Bugatti Windows 11, Spidey is Windows only. Rahul, I want to, but that's not affordable right now. Okay, Rahul, I guess you're using Windows. What are the specs? 5900X and 128 gigs of RAM, 4090 for 3D modeling work. So I feel Mac may not be available for that level. Or definitely, Rahul, you don't need a Mac for that. I'm using MSI gaming laptop. Should I upgrade to Windows 11 for video editing? You mean just upgrade Windows? Mac Mini and Mac Studio Superchair Destroyer is saying. Okay, which versions? M2 or I guess Mac Studio is only available M2. Is it M2 or M1? Oh my word, this is gonna take way too long. I don't have time for this. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop it. Don't ask again. Yes, I want to stop it. So I'm gonna open that project again. Where are we? Here. Is Windows 11 stable enough for software? Yeah, I mean, you've got one more year for Windows 10 to be supported on there, but yeah. So what I'll do is I'm gonna start it in 10. Well, let's just take this off. Okay, so there's no color grade now, and we're gonna do the same thing. YouTube 1080p full, 1080p no color grade. Goes to media encoder. Okay, there it is. We're gonna take this one off. Exit. Okay, how much RAM? I'll just leave that one somewhere in the bottom there as well, so you can check how much memory we've been used. Okay, that looks good. So interestingly, whenever you don't have the color grade on, the color grade, even light color grade, completely kills this. So right now it looks like we're going to be pretty much like 101. So this is a 10-minute, actually it's a 20-minute timeline. Yeah. But it's rendering it in half the speed, which is insane. It uses all of the GPU, which is all of the 1.6 watts. I can't believe how they do that. 4070 Ti Super versus 7900 XT for DaVinci Resolve Fusion tab. In benchmarks, the AMD 7900 XT is better, and you get more VRAM. How's the experience of the M3 Max so far? This is M3, not the M3 Max. I did the test on M3 Max as well, but I sent that laptop back. This is for me to keep. I'm going to keep this one. But the M3 Max was, well, it was a little bit of my fault. It was actually, the best video editing laptop you can get was the M3 Max. It was absolutely insane. Performance-wise, unbelievable. Like, I couldn't really, most of the time, tell the difference between my desktop and the M3 Max 16-inch that we had. But, you know, I didn't need that expensive of a laptop. And I thought I was bottlenecked by RAM as well. But, well, in some ways I wasn't. Some ways I was. And just the way the iOS works. But, you know, all of the 48 gigabytes of RAM, unified RAM, was like, most of the time was all the time used. So that's that. Right now, look at this media encoder. It uses about 8 gigs of that. Only 1.1 gigs of swap used. So we'll see how it goes. It would be interesting to see how much I use Windows, I don't own any. How much is a short PC building consulting with you, and where can I book a call if possible? I get back to all of my Minect messages. Let me see if, did I actually, while this is rendering, let me see if I put the Minect, is the Minect in the description below? No, it isn't. Okay, let me sort that out for you. Wait a second, is it? No, it isn't. Yep, there we go. Okay, Minect is there now in the description below for people to find me and ask questions, whatever. I always get back to you. And I'll put the enclosure I'm using as well into here. Okay. Oh, it's on a deal as well. Goodness me, I paid a lot more than for that. Oh, it's so much cheaper right now. Oh, whoever's gonna buy this enclosure is gonna enjoy this because it is a lot cheaper. There we go. You can find these in the description below. So, is the PC warm? No, not right now. Look at that. It's about 60, 80 degrees. It's warmish to the touch here, and yeah, quite warm underneath. But bear in mind, this is completely what's the word for it? It just went from my mind. It's completely not stable when there's no fans. Starts with S. It's completely fanless. Yeah, fanless. There's another word for this. It's completely not silent. Oh my word! I can't believe it. Passive. Yes, passive. Completely passively cooled. Thanks, Gary. Completely passively cooled laptop, which means no active cooling. But I've improved it a bit. I'll show you what I did. But this is the best $7 I spent on improving this because the performance went up at least 25%, which is insane. Can Mac M3 GPU support 64x multi-sampling anti-aliasing? I don't know. Really don't know. From Arizona, US, hello. I use some open source editors on Linux sometimes, and FYI, Resolve is available on Linux. I know Mac is also popular, but the free ecosystem is nice. Cheers. Yeah, I'd like to get into more Linux, but because we're using a lot of Premiere Pro and Adobe applications, it's not really very good. Ooh, this is quite warm actually. The fan is on and kicking in on this, but I wonder if I can see the sensors, SSD, NAND, bullet show, power board, palm rest. I don't know if it actually used the this is probably the best one to keep on. So this looks quite interesting. We're almost done. Then we'll move on to DaVinci Resolve. If you have any questions, I can answer your questions right now. This is free consultation. Well, the temps are really good at being passive. Look at that. P cores are 70 degrees. Core average is 64. Core minimum is 63, and GPU is 66. So below 80 degrees, and that's really good. But it's good because look at that. Package power is 3 watts. Come on, 3 watts. That's absolutely insane. Can you also see all of these numbers clearly when I'm doing this or not? How to max the performance of my 14700K. Sometimes I feel my M3 Max is better than a PC, which with much lower power with much more power on paper. Depends what you're doing. If you're doing rendering, the 14700K should be a lot heavier. I mean, a lot better as well in terms of, you know, any CPU rendering. And if you've got a dedicated GPU, it should smoke it as well. But depends on some of the applications. The M3 Max is very optimized, and it's going to be very good for that. So yeah, I mean, M3 Max for me seems sometimes a lot better than my PC with, you know, 13900K and 1490, which was insane. Okay, now it gets a little bit slower. That's the 8K clips now, and look at that, RAM usage goes up. Swap, let's put all of this into the swap. 5 gigabytes in swap, 5.5 gigs in swap. See, like, it's still memory bottlenecked. It tries to use a lot more, but it can't, so it has to like fill the RAM and empty it, which slows it down. Look at that memory pressure there. Do I still have the I want to know, where is the drive DX? Is it still, do I still have, is it drive DX? Okay, while it's doing that, let me it might slow down the performance a little bit, but hey, some people might do that with you. So let me get, just close this, and drive DX, I think it was called. Yeah, there we go, drive DX. I want to see how much free downloads. So this is like a freebie what you're gonna get on this live stream. Whoa, we're already streamed for an hour. We'll do DaVinci Resolve faster. Okay, we just quit that, and then we'll see, everything else is like very slow right now. So where's my drive DX now? I want to see how many terabytes have I written. Okay, try now, just a little try. We're gonna press yes. Okay, and looking at this here, I've written 1.1 terabytes, which is not bad. Power on 23 hours. I wonder if that is correct. I haven't used it so much, but I wonder if that is correct. Okay, 1.1 terabytes, raw value 2.164. So we'll leave that one there. I wonder if we can like refresh this somehow. Anyway, if you didn't know, you can check your SSD health with this very, very easily. I don't think macOS supports like the SMART smart values inside the OS. You have to get like a third-party application to actually do that. But this seemed working for me. Look at that. It just uses so much swap. 8 gigs of swap. Oh, thank you very much, Bugatti. What a nice comment. Thank you. But like Premiere Timeline, I see lags more often, which is annoying sometimes because I do a lot of motion design and linking with AE. I feel like my PC isn't utilizing full potential of the CPU, but maybe I am tripping. So Dijan, a few questions for you. Have you got latest drivers, latest updates? Have you got the iGPU on? And what else? Yeah, I think that's like one of the main things. If you've got the like the latest graphics driver for Intel and NVIDIA, I think you must have NVIDIA GPU there as well. Or what GPU are you using? Oh man, this is so slow now. And look how much swap it's using. 6.7 gigs of swap and like 15 gigs is used. So even if I had upgraded to the maximum 24 gigabytes, what you can have here of RAM, it still would have been bottlenecked. So if you go to apple.com, MacBook Air by so we have the 15-inch, this option here. Okay, so it's $1,700. Extra 24 gigs. Look, we're getting to $2,000 right now. Oh my word, this is the worst bit for me. And well, 8 gigs of RAM for $200. That's ridiculous. On Windows you can get like 64 for that. Oh, you know, it's unified. Well, it's not better that it's unified if it's so little. But I guess on a thin and light like this, you can't really do anything about it. But yeah, get as much RAM as possible. I want to see if we go to the Pro, MacBook Pro. What were the RAM? How much RAM is going to cost? Oh yeah, $200 is ridiculous. 8 gigs for $200. I mean, look at that. Okay, 16-inch M3 Max. So this is a $4,000 for that laptop right now. And if you wanted to get, I mean, look at that. That's ridiculous. Look at that. How does this make sense, Apple? This is ridiculous. Sorry, not Amazon. Apple.com. MacBook Air. I mean, look at this. This is, I can't believe this. What a flipping ripoff. Flipping is not swear words, by the way, so don't be doing this. So, by the way, because I've got rectangle installed on this, I can go Control Option and then right, and check it out. I can actually snap my windows. It's not as good as Windows because sometimes, depending on some of the sites, it doesn't work as well. Okay, wait a second. Let's go 4 gigabytes of DDR5. Let's try 6,000. Okay, what do we have here? Silicon power. Okay, that's a cheap RAM. Let's try if we actually have computer components. 64 gigabytes DDR5. Okay, let's try. Where's our speed? Never mind. Let's have a look. So 5200, 150. Okay, this is 60. Look at that, 64 megatransfers per second, 64 gigabytes. G-Skill is like one of the best RAMs you can get. Is 211 because you can get 8% off there as well. This is ridiculous. Absolute. Oh man, this makes me furious. So, can someone explain me this? Okay, look at that. From 16 gigabytes to 24 gigabytes, we're paying $200. Do you know what? Let me see if there is. 1 second. I'll go back here because I am going to go with the 8 gigs of. Okay, we'll go here because then we can have the most upgrades available. Okay, it's still 15-inch, right? Oh my goodness me. So 16 gigabyte upgrade here costs you $400. Okay. So every 8 gigabytes costs you $200. Now, once you have paid already $4,000, then Apple's saying, do you know what? I think I'm going to give you a little bit of discount here, because now you can get 48, 64. So what is it? 28, 16 gigabytes? Yeah, 16 gigabytes. Do you know what? I'm going to give you half price. Okay. So here you can get 8 gigabytes for $200. Here you can get for $200 you can get 16 gigs, double the capacity, which is still a bit of a rip-off. Okay, right? Then we have 128 gigabytes is $1,000. Is this the same kind of a pricing upgrade? So 16 gigs. So how many gigabytes are we getting now? 64. Wait a second. Sorry, I need to use calculator. 128 minus 48 equals, okay, 80 gigabyte, $4,000. So let's do 1,000 divided by 80. Okay, what do I get now? 12.5. Oh no, wait a second. I did it wrong. You already have 48, so you get 80 gigabytes. Oh yeah, 80 gigabyte upgrade is $1,000, which means that every 16 gigabytes costs you. So let's do 80 divided by 16. 5. Okay, 5. Okay, still. Yeah, it's still the same. Okay, still $200, but 16 gigabytes when you're on the MacBook Pro lineup. What about storage? That's still the same. Yeah, that's still the same. Every terabyte costs you $400. I've got a video coming out how I'm gonna fix all that issue even more, because that's like infuriating. But it's can you believe that RAM on MacBook Air on the lower end model costs more than on the higher end model? How does that make sense? What about Mac Studio? Where does that lineup go there? How much is RAM going to cost there? So memory, here we get, yeah, still $200 for 16 gigabytes. This is absolutely ridiculous. M2 Ultra, 64, 800. That's a little bit different now, isn't it though? It's not $200 per 16 gigabytes. Oh no, it is, still is. Okay, this rant is over. Is our rendering done yet? See, can you see once it gets to like higher end resolutions, it just absolutely clonks itself down. As long as it was 4K and below, it was fine. But right now, this is crazy. Like, we're using so much swap with so much RAM bottlenecked. It loved to use, like, on my PC in there, on our actual editing PC, when I'm doing this, it uses 100 plus gigabytes of RAM plus VRAM, which means who knows much. Right now, look how many times it has to empty, and it's so bottlenecked. So all of the like CPU and GPU, look, they can't do anything because, oh well, the CPU is 100%, but the GPU is not doing anything as well because it's just VRAM. It's insane. So we're gonna stop that, and we're gonna move. Oh, you couldn't see that now. Anyway, I just stopped it because it was insane. So we're gonna quit Media Encoder. It was good seeing you, but see you later. Let's see if it actually, yeah, look at that. Suddenly we emptied all of the RAM. See that? Okay, how are you guys doing? Let me see. I'm just shaking my head at the monitor right now. I know it's absolutely ridiculous. Waiting for my 13-inch Air M3 1650. I use it to edit Facebook, TikTok ads. I hope it won't lag. It should be fine. Absolutely no problem when you're using just cell phone footage. Intel. Okay, let me just open the DaVinci Resolve. The DaVinci Resolve. Okay, let me see if that changed any. It looks exactly the same. Just wonder if we open the Drive DX again. If it's changed. Ooh, look at that. Oh my word! Oh my word! Have you guys seen that? So this was 1.1 terabytes on my SSD life. Now because it got stuck on the RAM in there, we just wrote about 300 gigabytes or more onto the RAM because we were onto the SSD, and took 300 gigs of SSD life, even though we were all using, you know, our external SSD where the project is, where we're going to be exporting it, but it still used so much of it. That's absolutely insane. So we just in a minute or two, we just used a couple of days of SSD life just because it was RAM bottlenecked and the way iOS is using caching and so on. Okay, this is interesting. I'm gonna leave this here open, so I'll remember the actual, like, the number on the Drive DX, so we can check how much SSD we're gonna burn, because the way Apple doesn't want to give us more SSD usage or SSD capacity and RAM, because they just want, oh my word, I can't believe it. So here we are. I'm going to go to the edit tab, because then I believe I can, yeah, I can check between all of these. I just want to make it a little bit smaller so you can see all these things there. Let's do that and pull these masters. Yeah, there we go. Let's make this into a list. Timelines. Keep the timelines open. Can we? No. This is the annoying bit about DaVinci Resolve. Can't really do this properly. Okay, why is some of the stuff like behind the window there? How does this make sense? See, like, I don't like this about DaVinci Resolve. I can't like properly see what's going on. I don't like it. Okay, let me just put this down here. What do we want to see? We want to see maybe GPU cluster like that. Keep that there, and then that on top, so you can see what's going on. Oh, actually, let's move this slightly higher so you can see also the memory usage and swap what's going on underneath there. So now you should be able to see quite a lot. Now, what are we here? 4K, 30 frames per second with, well, this is insane color grade on, so let me take that one off. Okay, scrubbing, very, very good. 30 frames per second, absolutely no problem. 25 frames per second, it's fine as well. But bear in mind, this will play it back at 24 frames per second, not 30 or not 25. This 31 is still playing back. I get like the benefit of it, because you don't really see maybe a bit more. Well, you can really notice 30 and 50 and so on, but you know, perhaps you can just save a little bit by not playing back exactly all the frames. that to me is annoying. 24 frames per second. It's fine. Look at that. Very smooth, 24 frames per second. Oh, this is the final clips, is it? All right. Well, might as well just test everything in here. Okay. Now 60 frames per second. Scrubbing again. Pretty good. I can feel that the SSD is getting a lot warmer just because we're utilizing a little bit more. Plays back. I know. Look, 60 frames per second. It was fine. It wasn't playing. I mean, it wasn't playing back properly in Premiere Pro, but Premiere Pro was playing back more frames than DaVinci right now. DaVinci is playing back only 24 frames per second. I think the timeline is 4K. Yeah, Ultra UHD timeline. Okay, 60 frames per second here as well. No problem. Whether it's H.264 or 5 doesn't really matter. C200 plays back all right, even though it should be full resolution 4K. It still plays it back better than Premiere Pro. At least it looks like that to me. The timeline is a bit laggy. I know this is only 60 Hertz display, but it still looks a bit like when I'm moving it. Yeah, looks 50 frames per second, looks all right. On Premiere Pro, this felt smoother because Premiere Pro was playing back more frames. Even though DaVinci Resolve is kind of okay, like, it doesn't feel as smooth because it's only capped at 24 frames per second. And if I want to change that, it should go like all the different, like I should change everything, but then it doesn't play back some of the other ones properly. So that's the weird bit. .24 frames per second, H.265, again, good. 10-bit 422, 24 frames per second, it's fine. Now this is the Nutcracker. Do you remember this, guys? This was the clip that wasn't playing back very well. Scrubbing through is fine. Let's try playing it back. Plays back fine, but it is only 24 frames per second. It's all right. Let's try the color grade. Watch this. I want to see what happens now. Pressing play. 4 frames per second. Because everything GPU 100%. Because noise reduction doesn't really work well on Apple devices. It's not still like utilized. Would I do a review on the M4 Mac Studio when it comes out? I'll try. It's going to be very expensive, so I'm going to have to save up money or find multiple sponsors to do that. Or maybe one sponsor if someone's very generous. 4K, red raw. Okay, with the color grade, please. It just doesn't do anything. Without the color grade, very, very smooth. Pressing play, much better than on the Premiere Pro. Both of them much better, and bear in mind this already converts the red raw color space into Rec 709, I think. I don't know what it's set right now, but it's not as flat and gray as it was on Premiere Pro. 6K is fine as well. 6K red raw. This is 6K B raw. Bear in mind it's only 24 frames per second. Feels fine. 6K red raw. Yeah, it does not like that. Yeah, yeah, not good. Okay, this Komodo is a little bit better, at least scrubbing. Playing back, not so much. So Lorenzo is saying that there might be a chance that they will double the media engines from 2 to 4 on the M4 Max Studio. Whether it's M3 Max or M4 Max, M4 Ultra. But the thing is, our software, needs to utilize this as well, or knows how to utilize. They're probably going to do, I think DaVinci Resolve is going to be first, who's going to make support of that, then Final Cut, and then Premiere Pro at some point. But you can have 4 media engines right now in Premiere Pro as well, if you didn't know that, if you've got them on iGPU and your dedicated GPU, but it's still not going to utilize all of them all at the same time, especially if you have Intel iGPU and Intel Arc, which are basically the same media engines on both of them, but it can't utilize all of them at the same time. 8K Red RAW, okay, totally doable in DaVinci Resolve, so definitely better. I know we're not playing exactly the same resolutions, and it is quarter resolution here, but still like doable. If you press play, look, the RAM utilization is very conservative as well, and uses very optimized amount. Don't need much, which is interesting. Okay, 8K Red RAW. Yeah, can't quite do that. Okay, scrubbing is quite alright, but playing it back, I feel like Premiere Pro did a better job here actually. Playing back 8K was better on Premiere Pro. Okay, 12K Red RAW. Sorry, this is 12K B RAW. This is very, very smooth. It's quite insane actually. Very, very smooth. Oh, they've done a good job utilizing and optimizing the hardware and B-RAW DaVinci Resolve. It just works great. Even 12K B-RAW playing back like no problem. This is insane. Okay, let me try color grade on top of it as well. It's gonna go mental now probably. Yep. It's saying nope, not today. Okay, so what can I say about DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro differences? In certain codecs work better on Premiere Pro, especially like the 60 frames per second ones, and like color grade and heavy on the GPU, neither of them really did a good job, but some of the heavier codecs work better on DaVinci Resolve. So B-RAW was better on DaVinci Resolve with the M3, and then the Canon RAW was a bit better, quarter resolution. The guy on the surfing board was very, very easy to play back. And then we've got Red RAW was worse actually. The 4K Red RAW was better on Mac, but then the 8K Red RAW was better on Premiere Pro, not Mac, on DaVinci Resolve and Mac. If that make man, I'm getting confused now. So 4K Red RAW was better on DaVinci Resolve. 8K Red RAW was better on Premiere Pro. Bear in mind I'm using DaVinci Resolve Studio, and this is the public beta version, Studio 19 as well. So now I've got this clip in here. Let's try exporting this. YouTube 1080p, not to desktop. Let's try there. Save. Add to render queue. Okay, let's click go and see what happens with all of this. Now, I haven't got, let me just double check. Yeah, so I don't have any color grade applied. Okay, and let's see if it can do that. 1080p, render all. Let's see how's it utilizing this. Okay, so what are we doing? 5 frames per second. Looks like 2 hours remaining. I mean, Premiere Pro looked a lot faster doing this than what we can see here. Come on, DaVinci Resolve. Let's pull it through. Right. Is using the new iPad for on-the-go editing work a good idea? Do you have any idea about that? It's alright. I don't like iPad OS. In fact, I don't like the file systems the way they are on Mac as well. There's a lot of like hidden files and I don't know where they are, and I don't like, there's lots of like hidden stuff made everywhere that I can't delete or get rid of. My word, 1%. This is not going great. Oh, why did no one tell me? You can't see squat in there, can you? Oh, when did I click off? Ah, sorry, only the render bit. I remember now. So this is rendering now. Oh, someone should have said that my wrong camera's on. Look at that. This looks to be even slower than Premiere Pro. Why is it slower? We're doing 1080p YouTube, very similar things, 24 frames per second. And look at that. Using a lot of swap again. I'm going to leave it for a little bit. Spike in temps there. Yeah, right now, look, it's going down though. Why is the package utilization only at 1%? Come on. Is it because the RAM is such bottlenecked here and it can't use more RAM? Unified memory, which is interesting. So it wants to use more for the GPU and CPU, but both of them are starved of RAM, so it has to swap it with the SSD. And then it can't like the CPU and GPU. Look, CPU is pulling 0.5 watts, GPU 0.3 watts, and it's not doing much. Can't do much because of the RAM utilization. This is not good. Come on. This is ridiculous. It's rendering it at 2 frames per second, which means it's going to be 10 times longer than any of the clips because it's got like sometimes 24 frames per second. Look, it's going to do it in 6 hours. 3 hours now. Oh man. Okay, peaking now. Okay, GPU is 100% utilized, but only so little. Why are we giving so little wattage to the GPU? Look, in here we're using more, slightly like ramping up again. Is it the temperatures? No, the temperature is fine. Look, the temperatures were high in there. To 100, we got to 100. Okay, now it's spiked a bit. But still, like, what's going on? I'm just going to stop it because clear render status. Okay, let me see the timeline again. Where are we? Here. Okay, there's nothing on there, is there? Like, why is it? So this, let me just double check, color grade. Yep. Okay, nothing there. Is the first bit. Okay, there's the LUTs in there. Okay, let's try just when I don't know if it's actually going to put the LUTs through on the second part regardless. So I'm just going to delete like all of these. Go back. I don't think these will have anything on. Okay, this should be just pure like yoo-hoo. Okay, add to the rendering queue. YouTube 1080p. Okay, let's try this now. A little bit better. It seems like it might be completing 10 minutes at half the time. So let's see if it gets stuck at like the higher resolution. SSD lifetime. Oh, let's have a look actually. What is our Samsung 990 Pro? Look at that. We've written 50 terabytes in there. Well, 25 terabytes. Not bad. I've done a lot of testing and things on that. Anyway. It should be more. No, well, I've done 5. Yeah, sounds about right. Okay, in a minute it's gonna go into the Canon RAW now, and then let's see how's that gonna handle that. Whew, look at that now. Package power draw instantly to 25 watts. Log temperatures, boom, 103 degrees. But it got through it. Look at that, it peaked like over 25 watts. So the 4K H.264 4 and 5 seems like pretty easy rendering. It's not always using the GPU to do it, which is interesting. So it still uses certain codecs. Look, this spike here was the Canon RAW. We'll see in a minute. Okay, GPU is utilized a bit more now on this Canon H.265 422 10-bit H.265. Yeah, I said that already. Do you think the new Snapdragon X Elite can perform better than M2, M3, Intel and AMD? We want an Asus VivoBook S15 Snapdragon Elite X versus MacBook. Well, we're going to have to test it out. We're going to have to see what it's going to be like, because There is really no tests or independent testing on ARM yet, or Windows on ARM, so I'm not sure yet. Okay, Red Raw, look at that. Gets absolute CPU powerhouse. We go to 108 degrees, 112 degrees on this. Oh my word. That's pretty hot. I'll leave this in the background so we can see a little bit more what's going on here. Power board. Oh my word. Okay. Yeah, Red Raw just absolutely hacks the CPU. Look at that. Because of the temperatures are still very high, look, the package power draw goes down. Let me see if I can cool it down. Whoa, it's very hot. Insanely hot there. Very hot to the touch. I'm trying to cool it down. Let's see if it goes up actually a little bit. Yeah, it does. Look, there was a little peak in there. Can you see that? Saturating my hand on this as well. Look, the temperatures, boom, went down there. It's quite warm. Quite warm down there. Got a little warm in there. I know, 118 degrees. Well, my MacBook outside gets especially warm because I've got a little thermal DIY hack that I did for it. Usually this power draw would go down a lot quicker, and this wouldn't happen because you wouldn't have extra cooling, but this one has extra one. So 8K Red Raw is still kind of okay there. Do you think the EU could push all PC manufacturers to switch to LPC AMM2 to be more repairable? I don't know. I mean, it could be interesting because they did get the USB-C pushed through. So now everything, I don't know what year it is, every cell phone, every bit needs to be USB-C and manufactured new. So that's quite interesting. So it would be interesting, actually, if they did that. But honestly, it will be all good because it's like F1. Whenever there's new rules come into play, there's always ways around it. So they all can do it and they'll find their own ways around it to make something else, you know, not installable or repairable or whatever. One minute 27 remaining. Almost done. Almost done. Come on. Swap view still 1.71 gigabytes. I wonder like how often does the swap use? Like, is it every second it uses 1.7 gigabytes, or when? How does this swap use? That's like an interesting question to see actually how fast it writes the stuff on the SSD and it gets it off there. Okay, so this is the Canon RAW now. Let's see what happens. Look at that. SSD usage goes a bit up, goes a bit down. Temperatures are like now under control, under 80 there. This was insane there. Woo! Come on. 3 frames per second. Still no good. Definitely RAM bottlenecked, as you can see there. So we'll just look at the Macintosh SSD. It was 2775, so 1.4 terabytes. after this is done, I'll reopen it so it can read it again, how much RAM did we use. I don't think DaVinci Resolve is going to be as bad, but it's going to be a little bit... It's still going to use a lot of the swap, but not as bad as Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro used more. Del Rose made it to the live stream. Sweet. Hello, hello. Come on, complete it now. Well, let me just close rectangle as well. Maybe that uses a bit of RAM. Maybe you can utilize, well, it's probably just a few megabytes, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. How many cores and RAM on Studio ProArt is equal to the cores and RAM of MacBook? M3 16 gigabytes equals ProArt 32 gigabytes. M3 12 core equals ProArt 32 core. You can't really put it that way, because they're like really different architectures and really different things. And the ProArt will also have dedicated VRAM for the GPU, so it'll have, you know, 8 gigabytes of VRAM for the RTX 4070, for example, whereas on this M3 it'll be shared, so CPU and GPU share the same RAM. So right now here is 16 gigabytes shared between. I don't know how much can it split, like how much can the GPU take maximum. Is it like up to 14 gigabytes and 2 gigabytes for the CPU and so on? But it's not exactly like comparable right now. It's software dependent. It's depends like what you do. If you look at like Cinebench R24, then like the Mac M3 Max, Apple M3 Max is better than the Studio ProArt, which you think, goodness me, like what's going on in there, you know. So depending like what software you're doing and what can utilize this, but then some of the bits the M3 just absolutely clogs down and can't do. But then that's where the x86 and the ProArt shines again. Okay, Canon RAW almost complete. Let's take a look. How does the hardware react now when it goes to Red RAW? Okay, Red RAW. Let's take a look. Okay, what we're doing now? Okay, clock speed's going up. Package not much up. RAM goes up. Its swap is used, so again we're RAM bottlenecked, as you can see. It likes to use more because you can use more on the CPU, a lot more package, more power, but just can't. Look at this, P core and E core, they're 100% utilized, but I think they're starved by the RAM because it can't just get enough RAM to process that. While it's doing that, let me just give you another little tip about the SSDs that I'm using. If you're joining just now, I'm using this Ugreen 40 gigabytes M.2 enclosure that I just bought. It arrived yesterday, I think, and it seems to be holding on very, very well. It's quite warm, but it's not thermally throttling or anything like that. It's got a good heatsink on the top and a little fan. If it gets too hot, it's going to cool it down a little bit better. And inside I am using the Samsung 990 Pro, which has the read and write speeds, like maximum speeds. That's like no point here, because you're not going to be able to get the 7.4 gigabytes per second sequential anyway. But I'm using the 990 Pro because of the random read and write speeds. You can get a little bit cheaper option like the 980 Pro. I've got them linked in the description below, as well as the video where I'm explaining how you can get this. In that video I don't have this enclosure, I just bought this one, but in that video I'm explaining the situation, like what's going on. So Red RAW getting there now. Blackmagic Raw last bit to do. Let's see how it handles Blackmagic Raw, and then we're almost complete. Come on. Come on. Okay. Oh man. Look at the P core utilization, just what happened there. Boom. Utilization kind of goes down. Very little. Come on, we can get there. Render it out. I wonder if I can't remember what time do we start. Has it done it like half the speed of the actual timeline? Or twice the speed, same speed, 1-on-1? Oh, wait a second. Is that a little bit better for you there? It's only 4 P cores and 4 E cores. Bugatti, I have to go. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of it so long. It's been 1 hour and 43 minutes. Great to have you here. Thanks for coming. We're almost done. Come on. 9 seconds. Come on, let's get it. Get it done. Okay, completed. 15 minutes. So this timeline was 10 minutes, I believe. Yep. 10 minutes exactly bang on. And we did it in 1.5 times, which is kind of okay. But now look, it's emptying all of the RAM. Swap used, it goes down as well. If you had the color grade on, it would be rendering forever. So depending on the codec, right now we just gave it a whole bunch of things to chew on, loads of big nutcrackers to do it. I'm just gonna X that one off. Now the swap should go all emptying the swap out. Okay, I want to see how much RAM and SSD life did we use just because of doing that, even though we didn't necessarily use anything on the SSD. Everything was stored on the external SSD, but just because the RAM bottleneck, it starts writing stuff on SSD. 1.4. Okay, we're just gonna X that one off and go drive DX. We're gonna open that again. 2775 it was, I think, wasn't it? Okay, not bad. See, it wasn't as bad on DaVinci Resolve as it was on Premiere Pro. So this was extra, maybe 50 gigabytes, something like that. So that wasn't too bad. 25.7, that wrote down a little bit there, but it's all right. Okay, so in conclusion, is the M3 MacBook Air good for video editing? And the answer is, depends on what you're doing. If you expect to edit Red Raw or some of the higher end codecs, it's a no-go. If you're doing 1080p, no problem. If you're doing 4K, like mirrorless cameras, H.264 and 5, it's pretty good as well. And I highly recommend getting an external SSD for doing that, so you don't want to write all of your SSD like health out on the SSD if you're using internal, and you can get like as fast as external kind of speeds SSDs possible now as well because of some of the enclosures, and it's half the price for double the amount of, there's so many reasons why you should want to go with external, apart from, you might be losing a little bit of the like portability because you don't have everything internally in there. Now, I think it's actually fascinating how much power you can do and how little power you can use. Especially, did you see like we were using 2 to 5 watts, something like that, editing? So if you're using like 1080p or 4K H.265 codecs, you can really edit with hardly any power being drawn there, and makes the battery life super, super long. And if you've got a power bank or something like that, do you remember Charge Geek sponsored the other video that we did on the channel about this Charge Geek 170. That is quite an interesting power bank actually. So if you have this one, you can edit for like literally days, 2 days at least, because I think this guy consists like a full charge of the MacBook battery, if not more, on it. So this is quite interesting. I don't have it in the description below. You'll have to find it in the other dedicated video that we had on this MacBook Air. But I think it's interesting, especially being so quiet, so passively cooled, very good efficiency in all of them. So I'm quite surprised in some aspects. Like some of the higher codecs were like, whoa, it can actually do some of that. If you're getting it, I'd probably upgrade the internal SSD up to 512 gigabytes. Once you've hit that, then as much budget as you have, just use it on RAM, because the more RAM you use, the more SSD is gonna, you know, last, and you can have the external SSDs that are much better bang for buck. So that's it. Thanks guys for sticking around for the Technotis live stream. As always, some helpful links are in the video description below, and I'll see you next time. Some interesting content is coming up very, very soon. And yeah, thanks for being part of this, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.